It's the Iron Bowl. Need we say more? Arguably the greatest college football rivalry. And we've got Stephen M. Smith on the line from touchdownalabama.com. Need we say more? Our go-to guy when it comes to the Crimson Tide. Stephen, how you doing today?
Doing well, Mark. I'm preparing for Thanksgiving, for Black Friday, if I do Black Friday. But most importantly, the Iron Bowl on Saturday at Jordan Hare. That's the spot right there.
So, Stephen, you've been to a few of these now. You're still a young man, but your coverage of Alabama football goes back quite a ways at this point. You got off to a young start in regards to your career, so you've been to quite a few of these. Describe the atmosphere, the buzz in the stadium, surrounding this week that's unlike even LSU and the other rivalries, Tennessee. What distinguishes this one?
It's hatred. It's a lot of it's bragging rights, and then always when it comes down to Alabama and Auburn, there's something at stake. Whether it's a conference championship, a shot to play for a national title, and as always, recruiting is the biggest thing around the state of Alabama. Just seeing how Nick Saban wants to heap up all the talent, in-state talent for himself. Gus Malzahn is trying to steal some in-state kids. So a lot of guys, especially from the 2020 and 2021 recruiting cycle, you will see quite a few of those players at this game because it's those guys that understand how important this rivalry is in terms of in-state knowing from the moment that you're born in this state, it's either Roll Tide or War Eagle. And if you don't make a choice, both schools hate you. You are forced to make a decision against your own will there. So it's hatred on so many levels, but the biggest one, Mark, is recruiting. If Nick Saban, Gus Malzahn, and a never-ending war to get the best kids in state to go to either Auburn or Tuscaloosa.
Stephen, I'm going to take out all the obvious moments. Cam Newton's comeback, Greg McElroy's drive that saved the 2009 season, the kick six, of course, all the things that people would remember and know. But you having been as close to this Alabama football team as just about anybody over the last several seasons, and your recollection of history and being at these games, watching them on television prior to covering the games, what are some quick memories from you that maybe the rest of us aren't aware of?
Some quick memories from me, definitely the 2014 Iron Bowl, the one where Blake Sims really became a man as the starting quarterback. He had a big game prior to the Iron Bowl against MSU at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. But in the Iron Bowl, here's a guy that was the ultimate player for the Crimson Tide. Whatever you wanted Blake Sims to do, he did it. He played running back. He played wide receiver. He played defensive back. He was a scout team quarterback, a backup quarterback before becoming a starter in 2014. And it was a struggle for him at times in the Iron Bowl, but he was able to, put the team on his back when he needed to. Had 4 to 5 total touchdowns in the game, including one rushing, hooked up with Amari Cooper for about 3 really critical scores, and just had a coming out party to let people know he could handle this job of being the guy at Alabama, even if it was just for 1 year as the starter. So the 55-44 shootout with Blake Sims at Iron Bowl was one that really jumps out to me. And then the 2015 Iron Bowl, just a year later, the way that Jacob Coker played in that game. I know people look at Derrick Henry and the 200-plus yard performance that he had on the ground rushing, but there were some big throws and some tough runs that Jacob Coker made in that game that endeared him to the Alabama fan base as well. So just the 2014 and the 2015 Iron Bowls, the grit of both Blake Sims and Jacob Coker stood out to me.
Stephen, before you spit out that 2014 game score, I was going to impress you with what I thought was the final score. I was going to say was that crazy 55-44 game. So that was the one right there. And I think Auburn had about a 3-score lead at one point in that one. At least the two. Yeah.
They did.
All right. Yeah. So you went the way of the quarterback a number of times, and I led you into it with Cam Newton and Greg McElroy, and obviously a quarterback's career at Auburn and at Alabama, largely defined by this game. And it's now on the shoulders of one Mac Jones. So there's questions concerning whether he's ready, not just for one of the great defensive fronts in college football, but that atmosphere, Stephen.
I think he's ready for it, Mark, but I feel like it's going to be the collective the collection of guys around him also doing what they're supposed to do. And it's going to start off with the Alabama offensive line, a group that has been pretty solid all year, especially on the right side with Jedrick Wills at right tackle, a young man that has only allowed 1 sack and 3 quarterback hurries all year. He's graded out at 92% on assignments, a success rate of 98.8. He and Deontay Brown have been phenomenal on the right side when he is not getting silly penalties at times. Landon Dickerson has been a very productive center, very smart, very physical, very tough. The left side of his offensive line will be the side to look at just due to I have a strong feeling Auburn is going to put big Derek Brown, the Outland Trophy finalist at defensive tackle, on Evan Neal, the true freshman at left guard. They're going to put Derek Brown on Evan Neal. And if they choose to go that route, here's the game where Evan Neal becomes a man. At 6'8", 360 pounds, he has got to neutralize one of the best defensive tackles in college football and a guy in Derek Brown who will be a top 20 pick, who will be a first-round guy representing the Tigers, coached by Kevin Steele on that particular side of the football. So the left side of the offensive line with Alex Netherwood and Evan Neal has to come to play for Alabama and protecting Mac Jones, giving him time to throw the football. And along with that, this group of wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs III, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle, upon catching that ball, making plays in the open space, being able to evade, avoid tacklers, get up and down the field, catching passes, creating yards after the catch to even get Jones all the more settled in. And the biggest of this will come on the shoulders of Steve Sarkisian, an offensive coordinator, who has done a fine job this year scripting out the game plan, getting Mac Jones some comfortable, some saves, some easy completions on the outside, letting the playmakers go to work. But also, when he has a chance, have that confidence in Mac Jones to take some shots. Because although the defensive front of Auburn has been stellar this year, the secondary on the back end has been susceptible at times to big plays. So while you want to get Jones comfortable with safe passes, don't be afraid to take some shots. So I think Sark will mix it up.
Yeah, Alabama's wide receiver core is just so good, even against an LSU secondary that might be the best in the nation. They were able to carve it up because the quarterback had time and delivered the football, and so they're going to have to trust Mac Jones, maybe a little bit less than Tua in regards to the quantity of shots downfield, but they're definitely going to have to go that route if they want to take care of Auburn. If we flip it to the other side of the field, Bo Nix, I've been impressed just as a first start freshman who had to stand on the national stage right out of the gate, didn't get any warm-up games per se, faced a top 10 Oregon team. And even though he didn't play a stellar game, he played a stellar fourth quarter and obviously threw the game-winning touchdown pass. And we've seen a little bit of uneven maturity since then. He certainly has his off games, played a pretty awful game for the most part at Florida in particular, but he presents a challenge in regards to his versatility, is able to break, contain, break the pocket, throw from all sorts of angles, but he's been forced into mistakes before. So your thoughts about the Alabama defense going up against Auburn's passing game?
Well, the first thing for Alabama right now, Mark, you look at the young linebackers in Shane Lee and Christian Harris. Alabama's got to take direct, correct angles to the football, read the football, see the football, take direct angles to the football, correct angles, wrap up, and make tackles in space. Auburn is a space team. Of course, we know this. Gus Malzahn wants to get the ball on the perimeter, whether it's with Sean Shivers or Anthony Schwartz, or even try to run Bo Nix sometimes on that perimeter. Alabama's got to have its linebackers. It's got to have its defensive backs make those plays in space, wrap up, and make the tackle. That's going to be a huge deal here. In terms of Bo Nix, the biggest thing for Gus Malzahn is just getting him to play efficient. When Bo Nix has been efficient in the short to intermediate pass game, he's actually been a very solid quarterback. 20 touchdowns on the year, 6 turnovers, 6 interceptions. But when he's been able to work the short to intermediate passing game, he's had success. He's had really exceptional moments. So for Gus Malzahn, the matchup, getting Bo Nix started off with 5 to 10, 12-yard passes, work that short to intermediate passing game, maybe take a shot here or there if you feel comfortable doing that. But he's going to want to get to the edge. And if you're Alabama, you got to take the right angle to the football, wrap up, and make tackles in space.
Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama on the line with us, talking Iron Bowl, one of the great rivalries, of course, many believe to be the best in college football, and many would also rate it the most bitter between in-state rivals, of course, and the ownership of the state of Alabama. Stephen, this Auburn team, Alabama players and Nick Saban are obviously very aware that this team is loaded. They're really good. They are by far the best 3-loss team in the country, in my estimation, and better than most of the 2-loss teams and maybe a few 1-loss teams in the country. I would certainly have no issue with Auburn matching up with Oklahoma and having a good chance of winning. So this Auburn team is nothing to take lightly.
They're not. This is a team, as I mentioned, very, very talented on defense. When you look at, they got about 5 to 6 guys, Mark, that will go to the National Football League. Derek Brown, Big Cat Bryant, Marlon Davidson, Truesdale. They've got guys that will play at the next level. They're well coached. They're highly skilled on the front end as well as the back end. Kevin Steele, a very tactical defensive coordinator, a very strong schemer in terms of that as well. Nick Saban knows this because Kevin Steele, at one point in time, was on the Alabama coaching staff as the outside linebackers coach. So both staffs know each other quite well. And this is about, playing assignment football, not getting thrown off by the eye candy and the sugar huddles that Auburn likes to use, but understanding your gaps, reading your keys, and just making the right play. And that's why I mentioned the communication has to be sound, from Pete Golden getting the call out to the players on the field executing the call, being able to see the ball, attack the ball, make tackles in space, not allow Auburn to create big plays on the perimeter. And then for Alabama's defensive front, people have talked about Auburn's defensive front, and for correct reasons. But when these guys in Alabama, the likes of Raekwon Davis, DJ Dale, Fidarian Mathis, Christian Barmore, just to name a few guys, when these guys play up to their potential, they can be just as good and just as elite as the Auburn group. And this is what Crimson Tide defensive line coach Brian Baker has been stressing a lot this week. You are just as good as their guys are, but you got to play with the effort. You got to play with the tenacity. You got to play with the focus of knowing how good you are. So this will be a battle between, the offensive and defensive fronts of both teams. A lot of people look at the quarterbacks, the receivers, or the running backs, but in the Iron Bowl, it comes back down to the men on both lines of scrimmage. Who has the bigger wheel on the line of scrimmage this week?
And so while Nick Saban and the rest of the coaching staff, and I would hope the players, want no part of any college football playoff talk this week, that obviously surrounds analysts and pundits and the fan bases. And the talk is that Alabama needs to make a statement. The people I just mentioned, headed up by Nick Saban, obviously just want to leave the Plains with a W. No matter how ugly, 1 point, whatever it is, just want to get out of town with a W in this thing. The talk is that Alabama needs to make a statement to have any hope.
That's the talk right now, Mark. And of course, the players know it. The players know it. Getting a chance to speak with guys like Jalen Waddle and, of course, outside linebacker Anthony Jennings out of Dadeville, Alabama, somebody in Jennings that has been a part of this rivalry. He's from the state. He knows what to expect. Both guys understand that, what's on the line. You've got to beat Auburn convincingly. Of course, you got to get some help. But these players also know that the key to winning this game is taking the crowd out of it. Auburn has a really boisterous crowd. They're going to have a boisterous crowd, on hand in Jordan Hare, and those guys feed off the plays that Auburn makes, and the Auburn players feed off the noise that's going on with that crowd. I go back to the 2017 Iron Bowl for just a moment here, in which Auburn got a 26-14 win. Jarrett Mayton, senior safety for the Crimson Tide, spoke on Monday about he was a part of that game, and he just remembered how loud that crowd got and how much a lot of the Bama players were kind of ratified, how loud that crowd got, how much Auburn fed off the energy and the noise within that building. So the main thing for the Tide is finding a way to take the crowd out of that game early and keep it out of the game and force Auburn to play sound football without the encouragement of the noise inside of Jordan Hare. That is the main focus this week for the Alabama players.
And again, despite the 3 losses for Auburn, we can all keep in mind that the Tigers went to Death Valley and took LSU to a 23-20 game. So they're very capable. Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama breaking down the Tide. And of course, this is the game in the SEC nationally in regards to bitter, great rivalries. It's right near the top, if not the best. Auburn, Alabama, Iron Bowl. Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the weekend, the football, the fun, and of course, the food.
Absolutely, Mark. We'll do so. I'll try to save you some good pie from Jordan.
There we go. All right, Stephen, you have a good one.